you for being in attendance. For the record, it is Tuesday, May 12th. It's 2 minutes after 3. We'll start with roll call attendance. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Kavner.
Here.
Councilmember Milam.
Here.
Councilmember Byrd.
Here.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Here.
Councilmember Borden.
Here.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Here.
And Mayor DeVeard.
Here. Item number 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you will all rise and join us in the pledge to our flag. Item number 3 is the adoption of the agenda.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Roundtree.
On item 8, the ordinance number is 15-1644. And with that, and on item 5E, the resolution number is 15-1065. And with those additions, I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item number 4 is a proclamation. I'm going to move down to the podium, and I will ask if we can have our historical preservation members to come up and join me. If you'll just come up and stand up here. No, Ralph can take, CJ can take the picture. Frank, come on.
Stand in front of those white legs.
Yeah.
We can make it very long. Thank you. I am joined by members of our Historical Preservation Commission, and it's with great pleasure that I read this proclamation. Whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for managing growth and sustainable development, revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character while enhancing livability. And whereas Meridian has a strong historic preservation commission and historical society who work together to preserve the character and fabric of the historically significant areas and structures, to honor and preserve our rich heritage for future generations. And whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve tangible assets of Meridian's heritage, which shapes us as a community. And whereas a river runs through it, we have an imaginary river that runs through our community. And this is the 2015 theme for the National Preservation Month, co-sponsored by the City of Meridian's Historical Preservation Commission and the National Trust for Historic Preservation. And whereas the City of Meridian is very proud to announce Meridian's Downtown Historic Walking Tour was presented with the Orchard Award by the Preservation Idaho, and will be launching the second phase of our historic walking tour. That's a big deal. And therefore, I, Mayor Tammy DeVeard of the City of Meridian, do hereby proclaim National Preservation Month in the City of Meridian, and I call upon the community to join me in celebrating and recognizing historic preservation as a key component to shaping our today and our tomorrows. And I will present this to our chair and see if you would like to add any words. But while I have you standing here before I present this, I do want to thank each of you for the role you play in preserving the history of our community and making it relevant today and for our future generations. Certainly, the historic walking tour has been a true treasure in addition to our downtown in celebrating our roots and inspiring our future generations, our elementary school students, to caring about where we've been as a community and using it in our schools and telling the story in their own words on our website. It has become a model for other communities in our state, and you have really set a new bar, a new level of what people can be doing in their communities at a relatively minimal cost to preserve that character and the tradition. So thank you, each and every one of you, for what you're doing in our community. Thank you.
I'll make this short. On behalf of the citizens of the City of Meridian and Historic Preservation Commission, I'd like to thank Madam Mayor, City Council, the Meridian, all of our volunteers for helping us preserve the cultural and architectural history of this Meridian and making it such a great place to live. Thank you.
Tracy, did you want to say anything? Oh, and you can turn, after you're done saying something, you can turn that around. Oh, yeah, I need those.
Well, I just want to say thank you to the Historic Preservation Commission for allowing me to do something that I love, and for our supporters with the city and with MDC. We couldn't do it without that awesome partnership that we have. So thank you to you all.
Thank you. I will tell you, if you have been in our downtown the last week or so, it's been filled with little third graders that are running through City Hall and our downtown, enjoying this walking tour and learning more about our community and where we've come from. And there's just been a great deal of enthusiasm, and that is really exciting to see. So this has been a real added plus to our schools and the additional benefit they get when they come to downtown, that they not only now see City Hall and the old schoolhouse, they have that opportunity to walk, to have a history walk. And that's something that really lacked in the past and has really been enriched because of the historic walking tour. So again, congratulations, and congratulations on the Orchid Award. It's much better than an onion. So thank you. Okay, item number 5 is our consent agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Roundtree.
with the addition to item 5A with the resolution number, I move that we approve the consent agenda, authorize the clerk to attest, and the mayor to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried. There were no items moved from the consent agenda, so we'll move to item 7A under our Community Development Department, and I'll turn this over to Bruce.
Madam Mayor, council members, as I was putting this presentation together, it reminded me how proud I am of our community development team. Some of them are here, not all of them. We do have to have customer coverage. Hopefully all of them are going to get a chance to listen in if they're not actually serving customers. But I'd just like the whole team to just stand up for a second. You may know some of them or all of them, but if you want to stand up, guys. Cool. It's funny how it's kind of fallen into, there's nobody in the middle. It's kind of like friends of the groom, friends of the bride here tonight. But, you know, we're a small department, but we do a lot. And I think it reminds me a lot of the overall Meridian way, how we try to do more with less. You know, our customers range all the way from just an average homeowner to a multi-million dollar developer. We serve low-income individuals through our CDBG program. You know, we work with large nonprofits, small nonprofits. I'm really very, very proud of this team and what they're able to produce with actually just a little. Every year, we should remind ourselves of why we exist. I'm going to cover that just a little bit. Every year, I try to cover the threats to our community and some of the responses to those threats. I want to talk a little bit about some recent staffing changes and talk about the state of our development market here, how busy we are. I'm going to talk a little bit about updates and special projects, primarily in the planning area. Talk about what's happened with economic development over the past year. Looking forward, some things that we should be on the, maybe some storm clouds on the horizon for 2015. And at any point, not just at the end, I'd like your thoughts and directions. So please do interrupt. There's nothing worse than a static slideshow that's not interactive. Please do. I invite you to interrupt with any questions or any comments. Why do we exist as a department? First, community development was created because two of the major portions of our permitting system were in different departments. Development Services and Public Works, and Planning was its own small department. This gives the mayor that span of control over development review, the permitting system. We can look at it as a coherent whole and hold the team accountable, and they are accountable. Very, very important. Our community development, even before economic development became part of community development 3 years ago, has always been part of and integral to our economic development efforts. We can't divorce those two things. That's a big reason why we do a lot of what we do. And first and foremost, we're here along with other city departments and our partners in the community to enhance and preserve Meridian's quality of life, to take those things that are great about our community, make them better, and to build on what we already have. We do have 3 divisions in community development. Development Services, sometimes called the Building Department, but it's more than that, of course, with our very strong Land Division. The Planning Division and Economic Development. And I showed this to you last year, but I'm just going to flash it now. These 3 divisions get involved from beginning to end with the development process. Community development is not just about the development process, but that's often what you all see. And often you see in your land use hearings, a good portion of your hearings are planning issues around entitlements and that sort of thing. But there's much more going on. And so economic development and development services, often you're not seeing a lot of what they're doing from beginning to end. But all the way from business recruitment to trying to retain the businesses that we have, everything in between, all 3 divisions work together to do that. Last year, we talked about several threats. At the time, multifamily housing was really going gangbusters. It still is to a certain extent. But we also felt, I think a lot of us were feeling that the message about the need to have diverse housing in our community wasn't completely getting across. The market really was then and continues to play catch up, and those are the most, I think, visible growth pressures besides things like traffic and construction projects. The fact that folks are turning out and are concerned about apartments, about multifamily, was really, I think, felt like a bigger threat at the time. So at the time we said we need to redouble our education efforts. We also need to redouble our efforts to try to make sure that different housing types are compatible with each other. The planners do that, of course, with every application they work on. Keep our zoning code up to date, and we're continuously doing that. Continue to promote fair housing, the law of the land, to make sure that we have diverse housing opportunities available for everyone. Some of this has quieted down a little bit. We still need to keep our efforts going, but the housing market has cooled somewhat. It's still, I think, our multifamily housing market would be the envy of many other communities. But it's not, and as you'll see in the numbers here in a minute, it is not as strong as it was. Perhaps it was actually overheated, and the market was correcting itself. We also said last year that we felt that we were at a competitive disadvantage compared to other communities in business recruitment. At the time, we lacked clear economic development targets. There were some issues around enough available industrial sites at a price point that were suitable for some of the users that we were trying to attract. Urban renewal was not really part of our incentive package. And we lacked an organized and coherent, ready team to respond to these issues. I'm really happy, and we'll talk a little bit more about this as I go through, but I'm really happy that every single one of these responses that we talked about a year ago, we've made significant progress on. Perhaps we still need to work on the available industrial sites. Part of that is a market effect that we really can't change, that industrial land is simply more expensive in Meridian than elsewhere. It's hard for us to write that down. But on each of these other points, I think you'll see we've made a significant progress from just a year ago. So those are the 2014 threats. Very quickly, I wanted to talk about some of the staffing changes. As you all remember, we did add one position, and that was that of building official. Brent Bjornson was promoted to fill that position, and he's doing a fantastic job. I think, as Council Member Zaremba said at the time, it's difficult to, obviously we had a contractor in that role before. You can outsource work, such as plan review or inspections. Much more difficult to outsource authority. And so now we have this ability to really push the Meridian way and our care values through our building official, where it was much more difficult to do that in the past. Also happy that we've been joined by Sam Zahorka. He was part of my team when I worked in a neighboring town. Was really happy that we were able to recruit him. Sam lives in Meridian. I think he lives just, you say your commute's 4 minutes now? 5 minutes? Has 3 kids he's raised in Meridian, very much a part of our community, and really wanted to join us. He's going to be, along with Brent, very, very good fit for our customer service culture here.
Welcome, Sam.
And his last name starts with a Z.
There you go. And she's not, I don't believe, Paula's not here. Yeah, she's one of the folks helping with coverage. We're also really happy to have brought in Paula Middleton. Paula had been a temp with us and just fit the role of permit technician to a T. You notice Paula standing there? Well, she's got, because she was concerned about the effects of too much sitting on her health, like a lot of us, she was able to work with IT and her management to get a stand-up position there. I don't think I've seen her sit down since they got that workstation where she can stand up. So she's always there ready to greet customers and work with them. She's been a great addition. In the planning division, as you all know, Bill Parsons was promoted to planning supervisor when Justin Lucas left us and went back to ACHD, and he's been again a great fit with his knowledge base. And we were happy that we could steal CJ from the mayor's office. And he's doing great things as well. We're really happy to have him. You've also heard quite a bit from Sean Kelly, our CDBG administrator. Sean is new to us and is currently in a part-time position, but is really has a lot of life experience and career experience, and is really filling that role, I think, very, very well. Gives great presentations here from the podium, and I think our CDBG program is in great hands. We're going to talk a little bit more about the CDBG program coming up. Well, the numbers. Under planning, certificates of zoning compliance there's no single number that tells us how we're doing. One might think, well, it's the number of dwelling units or it's square footage of commercial. There's no single number that tells you. We like to look at a variety of numbers to see how busy we are and how much our community is growing. Just one of those, and there's several here, is the certificate of zoning compliance, the number that we've processed in a given year. This, again, is an administrative process wherein we make sure that the use and the folks moving in have the right zoning occupancy, and that the conditions, development agreement conditions, CUP conditions have all been met. So that's an administrative thing which you all really don't see in a public hearing context. So those have increased from 124 to 156 in the current year. Conditional use permits are about the same as last year. Preliminary plats have almost doubled. Final plats holding about the same as a year ago, and annexations ditto.
Madam Mayor?
Yep.
Can you go back to that previous slide?
Sure. If I can, this is
We're all going to say the same thing.
Yeah. Maybe not.
something is going on with the. Yeah, I know. The icon is not there. Caleb, can you reverse to that one? It's only going forward up here.
There you go.
You made a comment of preliminary plats had doubled. Are the dates transposed on this? The
Very sorry. Yes, that's that.
Teen, maybe?
No, I believe that those are they transposed?
No, they're correct on here.
Well, then
So,
I read it incorrectly then.
so plats are down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Right.
Yeah, so there actually is a reduction in some of those numbers.
Specific zoning's down quite a bit.
They are.
Some of the major uses we have, it's great to get the co-op out of the village. You all have been, where of course the city is a partner of the Boys and Girls Club Gymnasium, well underway now. Recreational uses such as Roaring Springs, the expansion of the Kendall Ford dealership, Meridian High's expansion, Victory Middle School, and others. So these are just a few of the prominent projects that we've had. No problem with transposed numbers in this case. For single family, again, we are holding right about the same as last year, and I should point out that this is a year since I last spoke to you with the annual update. Single-family values are almost identical. Multifamily, again, has fallen, but again, it may have been overheated and the market was correcting. So we're running right in at about a little bit more than 50% of what we were doing last year. And multifamily values, of course, are down as well.
Bruce, excuse me, Madam
Yes.
Mayor. Don't you think in the
Caleb,
multifamily, apartments and stuff usually take longer than a year to build? Except where a single, you're getting, 4 to 5 months. I think you probably, a lot of that 47 million come into this year also.
And Madam Mayor, Councilmember Byrd, absolutely. One of the things we report to you is the pipeline of available units. And so that would be part of the supply chain for those units, absolutely. For commercial, again, holding steady the past 2 years for both the number of buildings and the overall value. New commercial square footage, again, is very comparable. TIs have fallen somewhat, both not so much the number of projects, but in their overall value and in the square footage. So commercial overall, in terms of new commercial, remains very strong. TIs have fallen somewhat. In terms of the tenant improvements, I think the village probably had quite a bit to do with a lot of the things we were permitting the previous year. One measure of our development activity has been revenues returned to general fund. I hasten to add this is not profit from community development. These are revenues in excess of projections. And as you can see, we are back in the neighborhood of 2005, 2006 levels in terms of the amount being returned to the general fund. We're very happy that we've been able to contribute to the general fund almost $14 million since we've been tracking these numbers. Mostly planning projects. We found that our architectural standards, the design guidebook that we had, really was not the best. It was not well organized. It didn't fit our particular zoning districts that well in our particular settings. And so Brian McClure has been working with other folks within community development and also with the development community on new architectural standards. These are much more coherent, clear, and they really fit Meridian's needs much better. It's important to adapt the tools to what we're trying to do into our own particular setting. That's one of the reasons why we don't simply go and copy a zoning district from another city. We might take some ideas from it, but each city is different. And with the project cut sheets in particular, you can lay out in each setting what's appropriate. And the examples here are appropriate developments for mixed use, and then that transportation context is important as well. This is really important because I think, as everyone knows, from time to time, design review has been under attack in our state legislature. There are those that think that it's arbitrary, that it's the planning police. And some of the thoughts, some of the comments that have been made are that it's arbitrary. Well, it's really important to lay out clearly what our design standards are, and that's what these architectural standards do. And as always, working with the development community to develop them, we'll have tools that work well for us. Transportation projects, the Saturday Fun Bus was a real hill to be taken, and it really helped us sort of get our feet wet on transit. Obviously, the Meridian Road interchange is a big impact on our community. Currently, maybe somewhat of a negative one from construction impacts, but it's going to be a wonderful positive for us ongoing. And then ongoing coordination on transportation with agencies such as VRT, Compass, and ACHD. The code amendments that you have already seen this year and will see include, and again, we're working with a developer work group on these, not in a vacuum. We've made a lot of improvements to our standards for fencing next to pathways and open space, irrigation easements and common lots, open space, residential dimensional standards. Gravel mining, we almost don't allow at all compared to the way things were just a year ago. And we've also begun looking at our minimum sizes for single-family homes, and do those make sense, and do we need to adjust those? So I think there'll be more to come on that. Current projects for our community development block grant program, the Idaho Avenue Sidewalks Project, the Meridian Elementary Fitness Path, the Story Park ADA restrooms. Those are all examples of projects which can benefit our community. In general, not just the low and low moderate income targets of that program. We've been able to help the Meridian Food Bank and introduce the Catch program to really help homeless families in particular gain housing. We're happy that we're going to be seeing an increase of about 10% in the program. So this upcoming year, we'll have available to us in the neighborhood of $330,000. Looking forward on some of the planning recommendations, we are talking with Nampa in particular about land use, both within the Fields District and our common border all the way north to south, because we are growing together, and we'll talk about that in just a second. The ongoing UDC and design manual amendments, and again, working with the stakeholder groups. For growth management, part of our strategic plan is to develop and implement a sustainable development model to make sure that the development patterns that we're creating in Meridian are sustainable for us into the future, economically and otherwise. And then looking at our neighbors, north, south, east, west, and how we expect to build out, and to the extent possible, talking to them, and an ongoing effort in South Meridian on annexation within our own area of impact. Economic development. It was a year and a day ago that Sean Garrettson with Pegasus presented the Economic Development Strategy Plan and audit to you all. As you remember, that plan laid out some industry targets, catalyst projects, and how to best use our limited resources for economic development. A lot has happened since then. The approach from Pegasus that he really worked out in concert with City Council, the mayor, and other stakeholders was that we needed more than anything to collaborate more closely with our partners, MDC, the Chamber, really promote a downtown business association. And through that collaboration, worked to create several catalyst projects. We didn't have names for them at the time, but it was suggested that we needed a tech center or startup center downtown, a downtown multi-use center, and also take a look at the 10 Mile area, which is it's been a subject of concern and interest from us for a long time, ever since we did in 2007 the 10 Mile plan. And through collaboration, move those projects forward. And I think you'll agree we've had a lot of progress towards those goals. We talked earlier about the need and the lack of a ready team within Meridian. That is a group of folks from the business community that are energized to help us in our recruitment activities. Well, we have that now through the Meridian Steering Committee. And the Meridian Steering Committee, which is under the auspices of the Chamber, also has strong representation from MDC and from our Downtown Business Association as well, and from other sort of folks that are perhaps just care about Meridian. And that has led really, I think, to a new spirit of cooperation, a new energy, and I'm really, really gratified at the response of our community. It's been a big change from even just a year ago. Already we've been able to take some hills. As you all know, the new Ventures Lab opens next month in Old City Hall. We're very excited about that. We expect to do great things for our community and our downtown in particular. But if we had just taken that hill for the new Ventures Lab, that gives us the ability to accommodate millennials in our downtown, to make our downtown a more interesting place. You know, you probably heard that Pre-Funk is opening in the Heritage Building. That, along with Pie Hole, there's some real interest, I think, in our downtown. As you know, downtown Meridian might actually end up being somewhat cool by the end of the day. But even
What?
it's cool.
It already
It's
is cool.
It's cool. And even if we just do some economic gardening that is around the new Ventures Lab, that's a great thing. We expect and know that we're going to go much further than that.
Who are you?
I have kids who are millennials, okay? So. And the the 10-mile specific plan we of course produced a few years ago. Now the chance to see that come to fruition with possibly really the launching of a plan for an urban renewal district. And under the right circumstances, perhaps attracting a large user. So using urban renewal then as an economic development tool and as a way to promote business recruitment. And of course our downtown projects, the other projects that we're very keen on. The Performing Arts Center, we say convention center here, the correct term obviously is conference center, and we hope a hotel as well. And as you know, the request for proposals will be issued next month for that project. And we'll learn a lot, and I think it'll be very, very interesting. We've had a lot of great feedback from the development community to date. Sort of year in review for some of the numbers for economic development. According to the Department of Labor, our top 5 industry increases were retail, healthcare services, accommodation and food services, arts, entertainment and recreation, and wholesale trade. The total number of jobs created in 2014 were 2,000. If you look at our economic development activities, and of course this is primarily but not limited to Brenda Sherwood, you'll see that a lot of her work breaks down to business retention and expansion, business assistance, business recruitment. But there's also a focus there, if you see the star. A lot of her work and my work now is really being devoted to economic development initiatives. And this really would not have been the case from a year ago. It's a little bit sort of untraditional for an economic development program to focus on the catalyst projects such as a hotel conference center, performing arts center, New Ventures Lab, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But it's a big change from the way in which Brenda and others involved with economic development were spending their time from a year ago. Looking forward. I really want to end on just not a down note, but just some things to be looking forward to. We are running lean. That's sort of the flip side of doing things the Meridian way and rolling things out and doing more with less. The Development Services Fund, which is the community development portion of the general fund, we've been told by finance that we've had the smallest growth in overall budget over the past 5 years of any city department. We've also had the lowest increase in positions over the past 5 years. We've added just half an FTE during that period of time. There were a couple of years there where we actually got rid of some FTEs that we went down. And that we've added half an FTE versus a total of 53 for the rest of the city during that same period of time. We are currently undergoing a heavy workload for the subdivision infrastructure review portion, our land division. We have a wonderful system for tracking sureties, bonds, other instruments that are our way of ensuring that developers do what they say they're going to do in terms of infrastructure that's built correctly. We have a great system, but it is somewhat overloaded at this point. We're tracking $29 million in outstanding sureties at any point within the process, from the beginning to end. And currently, sureties are handled by non-specialists within our community development department, basically folks that have another full-time job that kind of drop it to track sureties. And they, of course, have to work with the experts within public works and within finance. Developers are complaining about the length of time to release sureties. So looking forward to the budget. I love this timing of this discussion. You will be seeing a proposal from community development to help alleviate that bottleneck. We are, and again, we are getting complaints. We think we have the solution, and we'll be talking to you about that at the right time in budget. Another threat. Our CDBG program is small, but really important and vital to us. Sean is a part-time staff member, but we're getting additional regulatory and reporting burdens from HUD. It always gets more complicated to deal with HUD. Even though we didn't have any audit findings from HUD last year, we came close. We had a couple of sort of verbal warnings. We're finding that we need more than just the 19 hours a week to properly administer this program. The good news, and so we may need to enhance the position and not bring it to fully 40 hours a week, but somewhere in between the 19 and 40 hours, just the right amount to get the work done that the job demands, the position demands. The good thing is that this will be revenue neutral. It's part of the administration budget that we get as part of the CDBG program. So, again, a little flavor of what we'll be talking to you about at budget time. Love to hear your thoughts, concerns, any questions.
Thank you, Bruce. Any questions from council?
I have none. Nice report.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Roundtree?
Bruce, you brought up a point that's been a point for a number of years, and that's the lack of and the cost of industrial sites in the city of Meridian. I don't have any solutions other than maybe getting more available in terms of our supply, which would require rezoning certain lands. Is that feasible? Is that a feasible approach? And would that put some pressure on what I view as a limited number of ownerships in industrial property in Meridian to maybe get some realistic prices?
Madam Mayor and Councilmember Roundtree, it is it's going to be a difficult problem to solve. Part of it is of course just it's not just availability, but as you pointed out, it's the price point for the Meridian market. Our central location and our accessibility to the transportation network really comes at a cost. There are two main issues. First issue, and this is not going to be a lot of fun for those of us in the planning division, or in many cases for you all in City Council and P&Z, is that we continue to erode our existing industrial land by allowing uses such as gymnasiums and churches to locate there. It's really hard to turn down a small business. It's really hard to turn down a church that wants to move into an industrial area. We are going to have to I think, show more discipline as a city on that issue. The second is the overall supply of industrial land. We've been talking a lot with the planning division about where we might be able to bring more industrial land to bear. One of the things we want to do is look at take our fiscal impact model, which basically takes our land use plan and treats it as almost like an investment portfolio. And using the model, we can see into the future the revenues at build-out that we would expect to get from each land use and the cost to serve as well. I think we need to look at that and see if we're in balance. And from that, we can also then decide if we need additional industrial and where it goes. There are communities that have taken this hill in the past, and some of the places that I've worked at have said, okay, we need more industrial, for instance. There may be other ways in which we're a little bit out of balance besides industrial. And over the next 5 years, we are going to gradually bring more of those amend our land use plan to bring more industrial to bear. It's not an easy thing to do to get new industrial land. It can be very controversial. Depends on where it is. We think we have some opportunities. This is not going to be difficult, but I think we can improve the situation.
Any other questions for Bruce?
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Kavner?
Bruce, great presentation. What's the direction coming out of your department related to customer service? It seems, I know something that's been very important to you, and I heard some allusions to some of the things that you wanted to do related to customer service. I was hoping maybe you could speak directly about some of the things that you're doing and your plans for the next year to really respond to the needs of our development community.
Madam Mayor and Councilmember Kavner, it's a great point. We are in the process of pulling together a focus group of developers to talk about their experience. We are told, have been told repeatedly that we are the best to deal with in the valley, maybe in Idaho. But often that same customer has a concern about the length of time it takes, for instance, to get a surety released, to go through the process in general. We may be leaving something on the table as good as we feel we are, and some of our customers feel that we are. So we're going to be pulling together a Development Services Advisory Committee to help us work those problems productively. The way in which a focus group like that operates is the customer describes to us what their concerns are, and most importantly, what their preferred outcome is, the way they'd like to see things. They don't give us the solution. Staff then designs a solution to meet those preferred outcomes, and we run that by the customer before implementing it. Often this will result in a pilot project or two. And then we find out if we really have solved the problem. But that's an excellent point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Thanks.
Councilman Kavanagh, anything further? Thank you so much,
Thank you.
and thank you to your team. We greatly appreciate your work. I get positive feedback often, and really appreciate that. I believe that your customers do believe that you have some areas that can be looked at, but your team is solution-oriented, and the first thing out their mouth is, how can we help you, not no. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 7B is under our MDC, and we will hear about what they've done over the last year. Isn't this fun? Dan, nice to have you here.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, Mayor Tammy, Council President Roundtree, members of the board of the City Council of Meridian. If I get my mind straight here, we'll be ready to begin. First of all, thank you for inviting us back again this year to give our 2014 annual report for the Meridian Development Corporation. First of all, I'd like to start by reintroducing our Board of Commissioners, especially for anyone in the audience who doesn't know who they are. Jim Escobar is our chairman again this year. I'm serving as vice chair. Dave Winder is our secretary-treasurer, and our board members are Mayor Tammy, Councilman Byrd, Eric Jensen, Callie Zamzo, Kit Fitzgerald, and Calvin Barrett, who replaced Julie Pipel, who served on the board for a number of years, with distinction, I might add. Julie was chairperson when I arrived on the board, and I can tell you I learned a lot under her leadership as our chairperson, and we certainly thank her for her leadership role on the board. For 2014, we initiated many exciting projects, many of which you're seeing coming into fruition now as you go around our downtown area. And I'm glad to be able to follow Bruce up here because many of the activities that he mentioned are also activities that we've been involved with in some way. And I'd like to start with downtown parking, and you all have a copy of the annual report, I think, in your possession.
Yep.
So I'll kind of refer to that and kind of go through it. I could make this a 2-hour presentation, but I don't think you really want that, so I'll kind of skim the highlights here. In terms of the first thing, there's always a concern in the downtown about parking. And one of the things we did, or a few of the things we did in 2014 to help alleviate that concern was we created the new parking on South Broadway between East 2nd and East 3rd Streets. And that's full-time parking. It's parking where a business owner or an employee can park all day. There's no 2-hour limit. We also restriped the parking north of Pine between Carlton, Meridian, and East 3rd Street so that consumers of that parking will better know where they can park and make the spaces more available and recognizable. And finally, we established a formal agreement with the Masons to be able to use their parking lot on a daily basis. And that has really helped alleviate parking. It's within 1 block of Main Street, which makes it very convenient. In terms of streetscape, and this is a big concern because the aesthetic in downtown is one of the things that attracts people to let them know they're in a good place and this is a good place to be. And for streetscape, our main project was the design of the first phase of the Main Street Island project, which, as I mentioned before, you're now seeing some fruition of that planning, which is taking place right outside, a block away from here. And I might add that it was a project that took quite a bit of time in planning because we involved a lot of the downtown people in that planning process because we knew it would be impactful for a month or two while construction was going on, and we definitely wanted it to be something that property owners and business owners found was an asset in their area, in their community. And that is scheduled to be completed before the Dairy Days Parade, which I know everybody will be happy about. We also, in terms of streetscape, have our ongoing partnership with the Department of Parks and Recreation here in the city to plant at least 10 new trees in the downtown area or replace 10 trees that are failing, dying, or in other words, not being as attractive or as usable as they could be, and replace them with graded areas so that our sidewalks and streets don't get ruined by tree roots. We also initiated the wayfinding and signage program in the city. And once again, you will see the fruition of that this year when new signs are installed on the major thoroughfares directing autos and pedestrians to our downtown area and indicating what services are available in our downtown area. Along that same line, we also started a branding effort. And the branding effort involved what those signs are going to look like, what is going to be the logo for downtown, for instance. And I think all of you were involved in part of that discussion as to what that logo should look like from the choices we had from our consultant. We are also starting this year, as an outgrowth of that, the establishment of a marketing consultant relationship so that somebody could be on call to help us with marketing efforts, and especially how to more engage our downtown businesses in utilizing the many opportunities in the downtown area for their own personal growth. Things like the activities that takes place downtown and so forth. I want to really emphasize one of the real success stories I feel in our downtown area, and that's the Treasure Valley Children's Theater. MDC has owned the old Cascades Bank building on the northwest corner of Broadway and Main Street for a number of years. And through an RFP process, we tried to get a private developer to come in, use the building, see what could be done with it. The outcome of that RFP process was that the Treasure Valley Children's Theater opted to use that building. And we support their use in it because even though it is a private venture, a private nonprofit venture, it definitely has a public outgrowth. And let me just point out 3 things to you about their involvement in this past year in that building. 718 students have participated in classes in that building, and that means their parents have had to drive them downtown every afternoon to go to those classes. 2,000 audience members have seen performances either in that building or in Generations Plaza through the summer months. And in addition, there have been 3,000 audience members for adult performances. So if you add all those numbers up, that's a lot of people coming to our downtown for a very creative reason. Another great project that came into fruition this year, and it was one that I was glad to see Mayor Tammy see you honor before this meeting, at the beginning of this meeting, the Historical Society, and especially recognizing people such as J.C. Jones who helped put this in place, is our historic walking tour. And in 2014, the Meridian Development Corporation put aside and set in our budget $10,000 to support field trips so that every third grader who is learning about their community, who goes to a public school in the city of Meridian, could take the field trip and learn about the history of their city. And I was glad, Mayor Tammy, to hear you reference the fact that you've seen the children walking around. They've been in City Hall. And next year, when one of us comes before this board to report on MDC activities, we can talk more about that, because that is really a 2015 budget year activity. But in terms of that, it is not only helping the students, but also their parents and their teachers learn more about what is the history of Meridian. And one of the outgrowths of that has been that a group of History Society members led by Rich Nesbitt has convened a group to establish an NNU course on teaching the history of Meridian to, first of all, to third grade teachers to make sure they know the history that they're teaching their students, but also to any other teacher or any community member who wants to enroll in the class and learn more about the city of Meridian, and also how to be a volunteer leader in terms of guiding that tour if they're so inclined. One of the major goals that we've had at MDC is to make this downtown a family-friendly environment. And when we bring students down for the history walk, when we have students in the Treasure Valley Children's Theater, and as I'm going to mention next, about the art wraps on the utility boxes that have student art on them, we are really fulfilling that mission of getting children downtown. And in talking about the art wraps, that's our work with the Meridian Arts Commission, which also allows us to support concerts on Broadway. And we were really glad to see this year that contribution helped to fund 4 programs rather than 3. More is always better than less, especially when it's a program like this. And to also see the involvement of student performers prior to the professional entertainers at each of these concerts. Just another way that students and children are involved in downtown in dramatic ways. And I want to say that I really enjoyed being with Councilwoman Malam at the student art exhibit at West Ada County School District offices, where we selected 5 more wraps for new installation for this coming year. So it's really exciting to see that involvement. We're also involved with, as Bruce mentioned, the Downtown Multipurpose Center, the Conference Center, and so forth. We have participants on the steering committee. Certainly, I think we're very involved with the Public Relations Committee that's helping with that project. And we contributed money towards the feasibility study. Also, as Bruce mentioned when he's talking about downtown and housing millennials and so forth, we did participate in the downtown housing study as well, which I think is critically important. We have many, fine neighborhoods downtown that need our support, as well as the business properties as we have been doing in the past. I also want to say that we were really excited to see this year the startup of the Meridian Downtown Business Association. And while it is not an MDC project, it is certainly supported by MDC and by numerous individual members, including our own Callie Zamzo, who serves on the board because she is a downtown business owner as well. And so we certainly support that activity, and I saw that Frank Thomason is in the audience, and Frank is also an MDEA board member. I'm going to take just a few moments, if you'll allow me, to stress something about key partnerships and about individuals who have helped us through the years. And, you know, I believe in naming people by name, just like Bruce did earlier. I think that people deserve the recognition that they should get for the work that they've done. And we've had a number of key partnerships because I think we all know that none of this work, no public work can be done in isolation. You're always impacting somebody else or somebody else is impacting you. So the best thing to do is just to work together and solve problems in concert. And so our key partnerships this year have been, first of all, with the City of Meridian. And I'm going to just speak personally. I'm saying all my interactions with any city staff member has always been positive. I think it's kind of intrinsic in the DNA of the city that it's a service-oriented city and it's a friendly place to work. I think, you know, I've worked with a lot of people through the years, and I think you get a lot more done with smiles than you do with frowns, and I think there's a lot of smiles in this city. The City of Meridian Community Development Office, Public Works Office, Parks and Recreation Department, the Meridian Arts Commission, the Historical Preservation Commission, the General Counsel's Office have particularly been of great help to us through this past year. I'd also like to say that our key partnerships are with the Meridian Downtown Business Association, now that it's in force, the Ada County Highway District, who come to all of our meetings where they're involved, the West Ada County School District. As I mentioned before, we've had a lot of interaction with them, especially through things like the art program and the history tour. The Valley Regional Transit Center, especially Kelly Fairless, has been great in terms of working with us. They also allow, Valley Regional Transit allows the MDBA to meet in their offices, which is great. And of course, the Meridian Chamber of Commerce. And now, this is where you have to bear with me. I'm going to name some names. And if I leave somebody out, I greatly apologize. Okay? But the following people have participated in MDC committee meetings and provided some direction to us. Mayor Tammy, Councilman Zaremba, Councilman Byrd, Councilman Kavner, Bruce Chatterton, Brenda Sherwood, C.J. Coles, Brian McClure, Caleb Hood, J.C. Jones, Emily Kane, Elroy Huff, Mike Barton, Austin Peterson, Garrick Nelson, Holly Brinkley, Lieutenant John Overton, Lori Den Hartog, Mary Jensen, Joe Kozlowski, Eric Davis, David Ballard, Tanya Westenkow, Josh Everts, Kelly Fairless, James Fullenwider, Joanne Richter, Craig Slocum, Justin Lucas, Ryan Head, Kelly Ryan, Lori Jones, Gretchen Casarati, Autumn Kersey, Ann Roberts, and a special thanks to our General Counsel Todd Lakey and our Administrator Ashley Squires. Without them, none of this could have been done. And for that, we thank them, we thank you, and thank you for inviting us again this year. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate your kind words, and would open this to any questions from City Council.
Madam Mayor, just a statement, a very good report. I think, and Dan wouldn't say this, but on the Downtown Business Association, the two leaders of it, while they weren't representing MDC, but were members of the MDC, Ashley and Dan are the ones that actually got the downtown, went out, seen all the people, and got them convinced to come. And now we got a very viable Downtown Business Association. I thank you for that. It's something that's been needed. As before, we tried to throw some money at it, didn't work. This time you went out and got the ground floor and worked up. Thank you guys very much. The two of you deserve the credit.
Thank you so much, Keith. It's nice to know that that group now has money in the bank, so they're an official group, right?
Any other questions? Mr. Kavner?
Madam Mayor, a couple questions for you, Dan. Thanks for the report. Main Street Island, I heard Dairy Days. Is there a closer, or is there a more accurate date than before Dairy Days?
You know, I think the only delay that I'm aware of is the historic street lights. There was a delay in ordering them because the manufacturer didn't have them on hand. But that should not impact Dairy Days because they're on the sidewalk. Right. So as far as I know, there's not a problem. And I believe Dairy Days is June 19th, 18th or 19th. And as you can see right now, they're starting to put the landscaping in. So yeah, they should have it done. All they need to do is put the pole that goes in the middle. I think that they're pretty much done.
Great.
Excuse me.
Couple
I think the bigger question, before you move on, is when can people park on Main Street?
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'll first address the first question that you had. Regarding the islands will be complete. They're on schedule by June 1st. The historic lighting is slated to be fully installed by June 19th. It should not impact Dairy Days at all. Parking will be available to the businesses as of this Friday, is my understanding. This Friday.
This Friday. Awesome.
Good, thank you.
Couple
Mr.
follow-ups?
Kavner, yes.
Related to that project, I love hearing that our downtown businesses are involved in that. Do you mind sharing who those businesses were so I can thank them for their contribution?
You know, I think that it's most of the businesses downtown. I don't have them right on the top of my head, Luke, but I will be happy to get it for you if
That's
you
okay.
you want
If they
that.
were on the top of, in the spirit of thanking everybody, you got me excited. I wanted to thank
Yeah,
them for
no,
that.
you know,
The
we
Downtown
have-
Business Association?
No,
Well-
in the business that the feedback was sought for the Main Street Island project.
Yeah, I don't know.
One other last question. Dan, talk to me a little bit about the economic impact the Treasure Valley Children's Community Theater has made to downtown. I mean, what
In terms of dollars?
Sure, yeah. Are we seeing families going to eat at Flatbread? I doubt that anyone's going to the Busted Shovel afterwards, but I'm curious
Well,
as to
I don't
what
know. I wouldn't discount that, but
what's the
yeah.
impact? I mean, I look at this as an investment in our downtown.
I think that
What's-
this is one of the reasons why we wanted to hire a marketing consultant, because I think what we're learning is that we're having to either educate or re-educate businesses as to the potential for having people downtown. Just like when we had the food truck rally here, for instance, how, you know, there were some businesses who took advantage of that. There was a flyer prepared, and they said, now that you're downtown, you may want to go to restaurant X, Y, or Z, you know, something like this. So that's really the kind of the education, re-education of businesses into how to use something like the Treasure Valley Children's Theater is critically important. One of the, and Mayor Tammy, we've talked about this before, one of the things that we need downtown is something like an ice cream parlor or you know, a candy store, or something where children can go after they leave their activity. They can go somewhere and have an ice cream or buy a candy bar or do something like that. So we do need to attract those businesses. But the business that's already here needs to better learn how to use the potential that's already here. And that's what we want to do. As far as its current impact, I really don't know. I'd be hazarding a guess as to how many people went to Flatbread or Rick's or Eppie's or, you know, Cahoots. By the way, those are some of the people who have supported, if you want to visit them.
Great.
Okay?
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
We do have a candy store. But it is one of those things
the
of,
chocolate shop, I apologize. The
well,
problem
I
is,
just wanted to make sure
Yeah,
we
no,
knew we
I
had
realize
Priest
that.
chocolate.
but the problem is, Tammy, is that the business have to know to be open when the customers are here. If you close at 5 o'clock and the classes are from 5 to 7, well, you know, unless you want to hand out flyers or something at the classes.
Right. Any additional questions? Thank you for being here.
Much.
We-
Thanks for your courtesy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, item 7C is, I don't know whose it is. Warren.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, as you guys all recall, we annexed the Meridian Heights and Kentucky Ridge subdivisions a little over a year ago, I think. And when we did so, we acquired a new well, or a well property in the Kentucky Ridge subdivision. That well is located on a common lot, which is kind of serves as a park area for the Kentucky Ridge development. Currently, that common area and our well site receive irrigation water through Nampa Meridian Irrigation District and a system that's already developed, a pressurized irrigation system that's already developed. The Kentucky Ridge Homeowners Association, though, as a whole, all the residents in there do not have a pressurized irrigation system that has access to surface water irrigation. And their subdivision is split by two separate irrigation districts, the Nampa Meridian Irrigation District and the New York Irrigation District. So they are trying to initiate a process whereby they can create an LID and fund a project to install a pressurized irrigation system to utilize surface water for all the residents, the residential homes within that subdivision. As a part of doing that, they, as a subdivision as a whole, are going to essentially relinquish their access to Nampa Meridian's irrigation district water, make everybody a part of the New York Canal district, and receive water from them. So in order for that to happen, they all have to everybody who's a part of the Nampa Meridian Irrigation District currently has to basically get out. The city is a part of that because our lot is in the Nampa Meridian Irrigation District. So if we want to continue to receive surface water from that system that's already in place, we have to get out of the Nampa Meridian system and into the New York system. So what you have before you tonight is essentially the documentation that allows that to occur, that will basically get out of the Nampa Meridian one into the New York. Now, one of the other elements of that whole process essentially was that they wanted to know if we wanted to become a part of the LID. We really don't want to become a part of the LID, and in conversations with them, they agreed that it didn't make sense for us since we already had access. The whole point behind the LID was to fund the infrastructure to serve the homes. There wasn't any new infrastructure that needed to be in place in order for the city's property to receive irrigation water. So the paperwork that is before you essentially, like I said, gets us out of the Nampa Meridian into the New York so we can continue to receive surface water, but basically keeps us out of the LID. We will simply pay our assessments and homeowners association dues and everything else that will give us access to the water. We'll pay for that irrigation service like we currently do. So that's the paperwork that's here before you tonight. That's what we're trying to do, is to allow or make it possible so that we can continue to use surface water irrigation to irrigate the well lot, but stay out of the LID. And with that, I would entertain any questions.
Thank you, Warren. Council, any questions?
I have none.
Mr. Zaremba.
Madam Mayor, I move we approve the submission of the petition to switch from Nampa Meridian Irrigation District to New York Irrigation District.
Second?
Motion and a second to approve item 7C. Any questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, item 7D is under our Parks and Recreation Department. I'll turn this over to Jay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'm here today to present an update to the Meridian Pathways Network map that's included in your packet. There are 18 changes. We try to update this, but it starts out, we shoot for an annual basis depending on how many really substantial changes there are to the map from one year to the next. Sometimes that gets put off. In this case, the last time we updated and adopted the Pathways Network map was in 2012. And what you see, this is what's on your monitor at the moment. This is from 2012. You can see for the most part, this in 2012, it illustrated a lot of realignments of proposed pathways according to what was being entitled at the time. They followed the entitlement process and what was approved. If you would, so with the Pathways Network map that is before you for discussion purposes today is there are 18 changes. They reflect, for the most part, 15 new pieces of pathway. The city has built 2 in the last 3 years. The development community has built the other 13. And there are 3 segments that were originally shown on the map that we feel it's appropriate to remove at this point. For instance, item number E is there was originally a pathway shown along Black Cat Road connecting to the 5-mile pathway in the future. Really, you have the Meridian Loop that's a 1/4 mile to the west. It's off route, and it's it's undeveloped land at the moment. It doesn't really need to be on the narrowest piece of 2-lane blacktop that, as it's originally shown. So we're trying to make a little sense of this and remove some of the pathways that were referenced as we want this pathway or this one or this one. For instance, on Fairview at Lakes Place, there's a pathway shown along Fairview. There's one shown through an apartment complex. There's one shown to the south of the existing vacant auto dealership. Those 3 are ORs. We have a commitment from the development community that they built a stub across the south end of their development that will connect on the south of to Lakes Place, south side of the auto dealership. So ASHD is going to build the normal sidewalk along Fairview at the end of this year. So we don't necessarily have to hold the future developer responsible for that. We have our off-road multi-use pathway taken care of. So with that, what I'm here today is to bring this to you, give you a brief overview, and if you have suggestions, discussion, clarifications, you want to make additional changes or put things back in, that's more than appropriate, then I will work with the legal department and bring the adopting resolution back to you next Tuesday to adopt this, which will then assist our community development department with helping me implement some of these pathways through the development processes. And they're kind of anxious for that to happen too, as some of these pathways that we're making changes to are directly impacting some very soon to come developments as well. So we'd like to get them in the right place at the right time. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Okay. Council, any questions?
I have none, Mayor.
Mr. Kavanaugh, are you ready to change seats with someone?
What is that?
Mr. Neri, I think, has a cold.
Oh, sorry. No, he's fine.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Burt.
if I don't hear any questions or anything, I would recommend that the Parks Recreation Department gets the resolution going. I think what I've seen here, it looks really good. And it does give us a decent plan for developers and ourselves and everybody to work on. So, Jay, I would say, let's get a resolution, get it going. Get something in the works.
Second,
Sure.
3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th.
I thought,
We're
did I
good.
miss a motion?
Wasn't a motion.
No,
Just some direction.
Recommendation.
second.
Okay.
You will notice that on the north end from basically 10 Mile to Locust Grove, there's a connected pathway from 10 Mile now all the way to Locust Grove.
Yep.
And in not too distant future, that'll connect clear down to U-Stick as soon as we get another piece of sidewalk there on Locust Grove and one piece of pathway across an ASHD drainage way that we have an easement for, so.
Madam Mayor,
Sir.
I do
Mr.
have a
Borton.
question. Sorry. What's the difference on the maps in the packet of the green light showing the proposed future route and then a green dashed line of proposed long-term route?
For instance, I believe that the long-term route. I believe it's 9 Mile here north of Pine or Cherry that, oh, yeah, it's north of Cherry. It shows a route along the 9 Mile Creek that area's already been developed. It may or may not be feasible without a whole bunch of easements and assistance from property owners, so an en-route connection is shown, but one day if we have the opportunity, we would like for that to happen. And really, it's just showing options, similar to the alternative route that we indicate along the railroad trail. Depending on how things happen in the future, we can go either way, that way through the development process. But in this instance, with the long term, I think that warrants further discussion. That it predates my time, and when the map was created, we got to figure out how best to deal with some of those situations.
Madam Mayor, it makes sense. The idea of if the proposed pathway at any particular location is installed, does the long-term route come off?
Then it would. If it didn't follow the long-term route, correct.
Okay.
I do, and for instance, in the plan itself, it speaks to a long-term on 5 Mile Creek that runs basically from Lakes Place over to Meridian Road. That goes behind the businesses, and it follows the center line of the creek, basically behind Burger King and Albertsons, connects to Meridian Road that way. That's kind of the long-term route. The short-term was to go up to Lakes Place and East James Court over to the Bud Porter Pathway. Well, that's all connected now, and there's not one segment of the 5 Mile that's along the creek, which would be difficult to implement because of the businesses and that every residential lot to the north of the creek goes to the middle of the creek. That may be a long-term solution that needs to really not be shown anymore because it probably won't happen. We have really what the connection that we want really works well, and it's on the ground and being used. So,
right. Okay.
So we'll look at that in the future.
Okay. Thanks, Jay.
Really, it's going to be in terms of making sure that the public knows that how these pathway segments connect. And we can take a lesson out of the Lighter, Quicker, Cheaper book in terms of how to really help guide people. And I appreciated being on the bike tour with the Parks Commission and having that opportunity to take the bike path and how it connects almost 4 or 5 miles, but it's not intuitive yet. And so it is going to take that direction, whether it's paint on a sidewalk or mile marker or what have you. But it's nice to see things are starting to connect, and it was just reiterated in the Parks Master Plan and the public participatory parts of that, and both the online, the survey itself, and it was reiterated in our listening tour, how extremely critical and desirable to our citizens a connected pathway system is. So hold on to your seat. I think your job gets a little bit more busy and complicated and exciting all at the same time.
Madam Mayor, the results of those surveys when I saw them was somewhat unnerving. Either have a whole lot of work to do, or I'm not doing a very good job. I don't know how to read that exactly, but we are getting there.
Opportunity
it's a process.
abounds.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes.
I look forward to it.
Jay, for your report and for being here.
We'll see you next week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, item 7E is under City Council Liaison and Committee Updates, and so I'll start with Mr. Zarumba.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, today I want to point out what's going on in Public Works. They are very actively preparing for Public Works Week, which will mostly be June 1st through June 5th. On Monday, June 1st, they will have a public open house at the new facilities at the wastewater treatment plant, and tours, all that sort of stuff. Wednesday, they'll have Public Works Day, where they set up in the plaza and inside the building and in the parking lot, and all sorts of displays and activities, and a whole lot of other activities going on. So Public Works Department is going to be very public during Public Works Week.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Sure, Borton.
Sure, I'll go next. Chief Niemeyer and I have been talking in fire, primarily budget reviews sort of engulfed the conversation. We've had some good lively debates where there, and just trying to get our head around some of the short-term issues they deal with, and then also make sure we address through this budget cycle, probably like in prior years, but the awareness of some of the long-term needs and expenses down the road that are sizable in light of the department and what they do. So that's been a lot of the work. We've done that through the budget. We've talked through enhancements. That's been very successful. So we're moving forward there. Historic Preservation Commission, obviously you've heard great things about what they've been doing. Their recent Orchid Awards, so they are a phenomenal group. It is no surprise, so it's just been a pleasure to observe their hard efforts as well. So that's my update.
Great, thank you. Mr. Roundtree.
Madam Mayor, well, you only need to keep track of the Valley News or the Meridian Press or the Statesman or the television and radio stations to know what's going on in the mayor's office in terms of South Meridian meetings and town hall meetings and Do It Right and all of those events that have been initiated in Meridian over the past few weeks. You all have been notified about the upcoming Association of Idaho Cities meeting this spring and summer, so I hope you'll get your information to Peggy so you can be attending that if you wish. So the mayor doesn't have to put in that plug. I assume you're all working on your budgets and working with your respective departments to get your budgets put together, and I hope that's going well. I had the easiest one to deal with, so you all have the ones to struggle with. But beyond that, I don't have enough time to recite all of the activities from the mayor's office. She's been busy, and between the youth council and drug council and emergency group and you name it.
We're busy. Roundtree, I will just add, we're in the middle of going and announcing award winners at our 5 elementary schools that we're doing the Mayor Tammy's Walking Club, which just is an offspring for the Mayor's Walking Challenge that Mayor Beater in Boise started last fall. And so we've continued walking in the 5 elementary schools that we're participating. Last week went to Peregrine and River Valley and announced their first, second, and third place winners. Now, second place gets a jump rope, everyone in that classroom. And I was thinking, wow, I want second place. First place is a lunch with the mayor. It's not as interesting, but thank you to Whole Foods because they're providing the lunches. This is all sponsored by Blue Cross of Idaho. And third place, I found out what those little carabiner clips are really. Don't know why they call them that, but that's third place. And Peregrine, the winning class in 4 weeks, walked 20.5 miles per student, an average. Wow. And so they really took that that competition very serious, and I was able to go to each of the student or schools and walk twice with the schools at each of them. I would say that Peggy is amazing that she can get me to all of those places, and so is Danielle. But we have some very active kids, so it's exciting. So I have 3 more schools I need to go to. Mr. Byrd.
Parks. You heard the pathway report. The dog park is going along real well. We're changing, thanks to the council last week, we're going to go ahead and make the change with the, down at the restrooms there, and bring the drive-through to the west of the restrooms and plan in the other so our patrons aren't having to walk across the drive-through to get to the restrooms. Since our last month, we dedicated the new tennis courts out there. Beautiful facility, beautiful workmanship, and anybody that drives through every one of our parks. I mean, every one of our parks, they are maintained perfect. They all look beautiful, thanks to the Parks Department and all their employees. Finance, they're just working hard on the budget and just keeping the fount small so we can't hardly read it. That's it.
They're working hard at that, huh?
Yeah.
Ms. Milam.
But the police training center is on track, and it's looking good. I was out there today, and it's really coming along. The last week, officers have saved 2 lives using CPR.
That's awesome.
On calls that were made. And the clerks hired their open admin position, and she will start the Tuesday after Memorial Day. In arts, there's a special meeting on Monday, if anybody wants to come, to discuss traffic box art.
Sweet.
That's about it.
Well, and
I
I
got
would
nothing on
just
SWAC for today.
add that the art wrap that's out there was funded by the State of the City money, and we have one more. And I think that we did look at the art that was selected by the committee, but I might just choose to see if the wrap can be the Mayor's Award this year. The I Love My Dog, done by a kindergartner at Meridian Elementary School. So we'll see if it will be a good wrap. But that is such an exciting project that the Arts Commission is really leading, and it's going to certainly add personality, color, and character to our downtown by really showcasing the talent that we have with our youth. So thank you for going out with them and picking those. You picked some great pieces that will look great, will look really nice on the traffic boxes.
Thank you. Well, there are hundreds, I think, to go through, or over. That's why they're having a special meeting. There's a lot of other submissions as well. So.
All right.
For cabinet.
So like all of us, both community development and human resources are in the midst of their budgetary planning. We heard from Bruce today, and I just want to reiterate that something that stuck out for me, that 1% in staff growth is, to me, just really phenomenal over the period that they've been around, and I appreciated him providing his update. I didn't get a chance to connect with either of my departments today because they were in this large-scale budget meeting, so I look forward to reconnecting with them next week. I had planned to go on the Pathways tour, but my cruiser had sprung a leak, so I am looking forward to attending our Parks Commission meeting tomorrow night and being up to date with all they do. That's it.
Thank you. And Council, I would remind you that next week on the 20th is the groundbreaking at 10:30 for the Boys and Girls Club Gymnasium. And I'd love to have you out there. Your leadership has been very critical to moving this project forward, and we're just really thankful we're at that point where we can start turning dirt. Item 8A is ordinance 15-1644 on RZ 15-001. I will ask the Madam Clerk to please read this by title only.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City of Meridian ordinance number 15-1644 and ordinance RZ 15-001 Paramount Southeast for the rezone of a parcel of land being a portion of the southeast 1/4 of Section 25, Township 4 North, Range 1 West, Boise Meridian, City of Meridian, Ada County, Idaho. Establishing and determining the land use zoning classification of R40 high-density residential zoning district to CG general retail and service commercial zoning district and CG general retail and service commercial to R40 high-density residential in the Meridian City Code, providing that copies of this ordinance shall be filed with the Ada County Assessor, the Ada County Recorder, and the Idaho State Tax Commission as required by law, and providing for a summary of the ordinance, and providing for a waiver of the reading rules, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. You've heard this read by title only. I don't see anyone that wants to hear it read in its entirety, so council would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
I move that we approve ordinance number 15-1644 with suspension of rules.
Second?
A motion and a second to approve item 8A. Madam Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
Carried. Are there any items for future agendas?
Madam
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Zaremba.
not a topic, but just to confirm that our meeting next week will be on Wednesday instead of Tuesday because of the election on Tuesday. Is
19th,
that
yeah.
correct?
Oh, really?
Yep.
School board.
Tuesday, the 19th, is an election day.
Well, cool. I'm
no,
not
that's
missing a
terrible.
council meeting. That is awesome. Okay. Thank you for the reminder, Mr. Zaremba.
All right.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
I move we go into executive session as per Idaho State Code 672345, 1A, 1C, 1D, and 1F.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to adjourn into executive session. Madam Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
All ayes